We cannot conduct covert operations. If a committee puts out a report which refers to an activity which leaves out the name of a country or individual concerned, but gives enough evidence for any amateur sleuth to identify it beyond a shadow of a doubt in times for its identification to be carried with the news stories of the report itself.
That is the...
All right, but you believe you're consistent with the statutes, but there isn't any statute that prohibits your interception of domestic communications.
I believe that's correct.
Hola amigos, ¿cómo están ustedes? Bienvenidos de vuelta una vez más a este increíble canal de noticias Venezuela News. Muchas gracias por estar aquí presente nuevamente en este maravilloso canal. En esta oportunidad quiero revelarles que Tucker Carlson ha dicho de que la agencia de inteligencia central está filtrada en los medios de comunicación para difundir propaganda. Señores, les traigo los videos e información traducido en español para todos ustedes. Así que permanece hasta el final, regálame un gran like como forma de apoyo a este canal. Si no estás suscrito en el canal, te pido que te suscribas, actives la campanita para que YouTube te notifique cuando suba un nuevo video. Así que sin más nada que agregar, comencemos. Se está revelando la Operación Mockingbird. La Operación Mockingbird es un supuesto programa a gran escala de la Agencia de Inteligencia de los Estados Unidos que comenzó en los primeros años de la Guerra Fría e intento de manipular a los medios de comunicación nacionales estadounidenses con fines propagandísticos. Según la autora que ven en pantalla, la Operación Sinsote reclutó a destacados periodistas estadounidenses en una red de propaganda e influyó en las operaciones de los grupos de fachada. Sí, señores, Tucker Carlson expone a la Agencia de Inteligencia Central, la CIA, que está trabajando directamente en este preciso instante con los medios corporativos para difundir propaganda sobre Rusia, propaganda sobre Vladimir Putin, propagandas en contra de Donald Trump, propaganda que tiene que ver con las elecciones del 2024 para que ustedes se lo crean absolutamente todo.
What's your take on a Wolf Blitzer type? Because whenever I
take a close look at his history. Actually,
I'm always like, why would he do this? Why would he say a bunch of stuff he doesn't believe or he must know is untrue? Like what? He sat there as this sort of elder statesman of news and just sort of lied right through COVID and many other subjects. Why would he do that? Why would he do it to his legacy?
I worked with Wolf for years, never had a problem with him. It was always nice. No one wants to hear it, and I'm sure most people won't believe it, but I can tell you, having lived it for many years, it's true. The intel agencies have a big effect on what is broadcast on television and what you see on Facebook and Google as well. I mean, they're all up and down Facebook and Google, as I'm sure you know. And, there are a lot of anchors who, including people I know well and have worked with, at different networks. I'm thinking of one in particular, a national security reporter who was just a mouthpiece for the Pentagon and the CIA and is knowingly telling lies on their behalf. That's very, very common, very common. And I can think of a number of people at CNN who I know for a fact are doing that exact thing. And so, they're reading government propaganda from the intel agencies knowingly. And I'm sure they've got some internal rationale that allows them to get up in the morning and face themselves despite having done something that dishonest. But I'm just telling you, bottom line, I know that is true. I'm not speculating at all. And in particular on the national security stuff, there are very well-known national security reporters, and I'm thinking of one female national security reporter in particular, who just reads lies from the national security state. And it's wildly frustrating. And it would just make me mad. Even if I don't agree with the lies, okay, but even if I did agree with the lies, I would be offended because they're lies. They're lies. Like when CIA and the Pentagon were claiming that Bashar al-Assad used poison gas against his own people. Okay, there was no evidence that was true. Maybe it was true. There was no evidence it was true. None. Zero. And I called them out and they could not provide any evidence. And yet every national security, and it was a big deal. We killed a lot of people in response. We sent in missiles and killed a lot of people. We took human life in response to that claim. And it was, as far as I can tell, a lie. And every national security reporter, every channel repeated it uncritically. the Biden administration blew up Nord Stream and, created the largest act of industrial sabotage in history, the largest man-made CO2 emission in history, an environmental crime. This is a huge deal. This happened. And every national security reporter just looked right into the camera and said, well, we think Russia did it. Well, they knew Russia didn't do it. That's a lie. And they knew it was a lie. So I just think, and again, I'm not speculating. I spent my life in this business, so I've seen it. People underestimate the degree to which the people sitting on the news, possibly even Wolf Blitzer, are repeating talking points from the intel agencies and doing it on purpose. It's scary, man. Really scary.
La operación de Mockingbird de la agencia central está implementando agentes dañinos, así como están escuchando, agentes dañinos dentro de los medios de comunicación para crear propaganda que tú te creas. En 1973, la CIA publicó documentos denominados La joya de la familia, que contenía una referencia al proyecto Mockingbird, que era el nombre de una operación en 1963 que interceptó a 2 periodistas que habían publicado artículos basados en información clasificada, y el documento no contenía referencia a la operación sin sote.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
At CBS, we had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole News and Public Affairs operation in 1954, ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
Senator, do you think that you named the news organizations in your final report?
That remains to be decided.
I think it was entirely in order for our correspondents at that time to make use of CIA agent chiefs of station and other members of the executive staff of CIA as sources of information which were useful in their assessments of world conditions.
Would you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
La operación Mockingbird fue una operación encubierta del gobierno de los Estados Unidos para implementar propaganda proestadounidense en los medios de comunicación y las organizaciones fachadas estadounidenses. A partir de la década de 1950, la CIA comenzó a contratar estudiantes y personas de los medios de comunicación para escribir historias falsas o embellecer historias para favorecer al gobierno estadounidense. En 1967, la revista Rampart demostró que incluso la Organización Nacional de Estudiantes estaba recibiendo dinero de la CIA para festivales y otros eventos, utilizando compañías falsas y benefactores misteriosos. Estos colectivos crearon cantidades masivas de propaganda utilizando al estudiante estadounidense promedio. Se abrió el golpe en 1977, cuando el famoso periodista que ven en pantalla, quien también, con su socio Bob, expuso el escándalo de Watergate en 1974. En su artículo de 1977, la CIA y los medios reveló que ciertos reporteros no solo eran pagados por el gobierno de los Estados Unidos, también entablaron relaciones más amplias con la CIA, incluso compartieron cuadernos y algunos recibieron pagos de más de $500,000 americanos para difundir propaganda para ustedes, señores. ¿Qué les parece eso? Algunos han alegado que estas operaciones y organizaciones fachadas todavía existen. Y sí existe, porque Tucker Carlson lo reveló, que él tiene conocidos en los medios corporativos que están conectados con la agencia de inteligencia central. A pesar de la poca evidencia, aún así, siempre es beneficioso asegurarse de que su información sea totalmente real. Sí, señores, esto es lo que está pasando. Tucker Carlson ha revelado que estos periodistas están conectados con la agencia de inteligencia central. Inclusive, muchas personas están especulando, como les mencioné anteriormente, que Anderson Cooper tiene algo que ver con esto. A continuación, también te voy a mostrar unas declaraciones que hizo Tucker Carlson en su programa, en una entrevista traducida en español, de cómo están actuando estos funcionarios de DC y que también nombra a Anthony Fauci. Miren esto.
In DC, living next to my brother, who I'm really close to, my best friend, and now we live together again in another state. And so I spent my whole life with my brother, and he spent, like me, his whole life in Washington. So, from high school on, and we go for a walk every single morning with 7 dogs, and we climb this mountain every single morning, and we always talk about Washington, where we spend our lives. And we have no respect for the people who live there. We don't think they're smart. Both of us think they're stupid. And we don't think that because we saw it on the internet. We think that because we live next to them for 35 years. I have no respect for them at all. Nothing they have done works. They should not be in charge. They're not worthy of it. They're too stupid, actually. So, it's just so funny. The conceit that they're smart, where they call themselves, I'm a wonk. You think I'm smart? They've never read a freaking book. I mean, these are truly dumb people. And somehow they've hoodwinked the nation into thinking they're experts in something. I literally wouldn't hire Anthony Fauci to do anything other than apply for government grants. That's the only thing he's good at. I would not hire him to run a business. I would not hire him to cure my cold. I wouldn't have him give my wife a pedicure. He's not qualified. These people are not impressive. That's the actual truth.
Señores, ¿qué les parece esto? Ahora bien, lo más importante de todo esto, vamos a compartir estas noticias, vamos a compartir este video importante por WhatsApp, por Facebook, por Instagram, por Telegram, por Twitter, por Truth Social, porque las personas deben saber de cómo esta agencia de inteligencia central se está filtrando en los medios de comunicación para crear propaganda para que ustedes se lo crean. Señores, Tucker Carlson ha revelado que ciertos periodistas que él conoce personalmente están trabajando con la agencia de inteligencia central secretamente, pero no revela cuáles nombres. Pero esto está sucediendo. Si tienes a un familiar o un amigo o una persona cercana, inclusive un vecino, que no está al tanto sobre este tipo de noticias, compártele este video. Regálame un gran like como forma de apoyo a este canal y espero que te suscribas. Cuídense, Dios me los bendiga y hasta luego.